What up, dude bros? I'm Frank. This is a video review of the Air Warriors Thermal Hunter and Thermal Zenith by Busby Toys, and these toys are pretty cool for all the reasons except the blasters. It's all the accessories that I'm like kind of nerding out about. Rail adapter to move from the Air Warriors to a Nerf in-strike rail, thermal scope or heat-seeking scope, which actually works like surprisingly well, and Busby's new PrecisePro darts, which are really precise. I know, right? A label that's accurate? What is this? Like the long-range barrel's not giving me longer range. Oh, and there are two blasters here, but they're really of very little importance compared to all this other cool stuff here. I'm mostly kidding, but let's get to the review. Included is the blaster itself, the thermal scope, a few darts, and the rail adapter. Included is the blaster itself, the stock, the rail adapter, 10-round magazine, the thermal scope, and some darts. First and foremost, or at least in my opinion, the thermal scope. Now this thing actually works, and that's really surprising to me. I saw this and shared it on my channel from the New York Toy Fair earlier this year, but this is a production model. So the premise of this optic is it's a thermal scope. It detects heat signatures. So when you're looking down the crosshairs, it's supposed to be green. Then when you move the scope over a target that's hot, a person or a light bulb, it turns red to indicate that's a target. Press the trigger and you'll shoot it. I know what you're thinking, dude bro. Well, Nerf has those red dots and those green lights and those flashlights, and they say this, this, and this, but they all suck. None of them work. We've just grown accustomed to all of the Nerf accessories with batteries just totally sucking and not working at all. They look pretty cool, but none of them work. This actually does, with a few limitations, which I'll go over, but the overview of the product, you have an on-off switch, to turn it on and off, then a set button, and that allows the device to adjust to your ambient temperature. For example, I run my house at about 76 to 77 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm in Southwest Florida, so that's to save on air conditioning bills, and I run fans in all of my houses to save a little bit on the electricity bill, but more importantly, just conservation of energy, bros. So setting it for 76 degrees Fahrenheit allows the device to understand that when I'm pointing it at a wall, that happens to just be a 76 degree Fahrenheit wall. So then if I shine it at a light bulb and it pops up to 80, 85 degrees Fahrenheit, it'll actually turn red because that's hot compared to the norm, which I set with the set button at 76 degrees Fahrenheit. I am curious, my oven won't go low enough to not melt it but also be hot, but I'm curious if you can turn the heat-seeking scope into a cold-seeking scope. If I hit set in a 130 degree Fahrenheit area, and then it's pointed at a human running much colder than that, would it detect the cold and then light up? I don't know. Cold seeking to kill like reptiles and stuff. I'll stop now. That's what the set button does, and the mode is to turn it off or to deactivate it, so it just turns blue crosshairs permanently, so the thermal element is deactivated. It's a really big bulky optic to use for just a red dot or a blue dot, so I wouldn't recommend that. But it's nice that you have it there in case it's distracting to see it turn red, green, which it kind of is. Sitting there trying to Nerf and my ADD is like, whoa, why is it changing colors? I want to look at the target, and then I get shot. Anyways, this is a rail attachment, obviously, so it slides onto the rail like the other attachments. Whoop! Sound effect not included. And boom, you have a thermal optic. That's the overview. More on its operation in the firing demo, because it's the operational demo, even though the scope doesn't fire. Whatever. Next, I guess I'll go over the blasters so I can get to the important stuff, the rail adapter and the darts right after. This is the Thermal Zenith. It's a pump-action 6-round cylinder-fed spring-powered blaster. Priming handle's down here. That's how you prime it. Front loader, it holds 6 darts. You pump it back, press the trigger, pew pew, pretty standard stuff. Top rail up here, this isn't an in-strike Nerf Tacti-Cool rail, it's the Air Warriors rail. Simple way to fix that. Rail adapter, I'll get to that in a sec. Then getting back to the grip, it's super small. The length of pull or the distance from like right here where the webbing of your hand catches and the trigger is super tiny. It's a small, cramped, uncomfortable grip, and it's just, I don't like it. Considering the proportions of the front end, I'd expect a larger grip, but for some reason, it's all cramped. I have a large hand. I whine about this stuff all the time, but this is not adult friendly. I experienced a number of rotation issues, so I wouldn't actually recommend purchasing this one, so I'm not going to harp on the grip because that's not the deal breaker for me. It's the mechanics. More after the firing demo. That is the Zenith. Now to the Thermal Hunter. This blaster is a pump-action, spring-powered, magazine-fed blaster. Gray grip up here is the pump. That's how you prime it. This blaster does not have slam fire, so if you hold down the trigger, it just won't catch. But you're a super elite hunter with your thermal scope, so you're not going to be slam firing, you're going to be one-shot killing, right? Just kidding, it's pump action. You gotta go fast, bro. No in-strike Tacti-Cool attachment, of course. This isn't a Nerf gun. But back to the magazine and the magazine well. To get the mag out, prime back, then you hit the magazine release. It's just right in the center. Air Warriors and Busby, they've been doing this a lot. It's ambidextrous, so if you're left-handed, you can use it the same way. Comes out pretty easily. The included magazine holds 10 darts. And it's black, because tactics. A while back, Air Warriors started pumping out blasters that were compatible with Nerf darts and also Nerf magazines. This one is not compatible with Nerf magazines. The magazine well protrudes out too far, so the lip of in-strike magazines will catch it, and it doesn't go in. But it is compatible with the 20-round Busby mags. So yeah, that is just a magazine incompatibility. It does work with Elite darts. But you can just pop that back in there, ready to go. Moving up to the top, there's an Air Warriors rail right here. These rails look quite a bit different. I don't know why, but yeah, they're not in-strike rails again, but they hold the included thermal scope. Both of these come with their own thermal scopes. Back to the grip, just like the Zenith and a lot of Air Warriors blasters, this grip is, just look at it, it's puny, it's pathetic. The length of pull is super cramped, so you're all just cramped all up in there. It's small and just stubby, and considering the size and proportions of the blaster, especially this big chunky scope, this just looks out of proportion to me. And you can feel it when you put your hand on it. It's just a little too small for... That's not what she said. But to free up a little bit more space, you can remove the stock because it's removable. And isn't that just an adorable little stock attachment point? This frees up a little bit more space. It's still not especially comfortable. It's a very small grip, but it doesn't cramp the back of your hand quite as much. The stock isn't adjustable. It doesn't like pull out like an AR or an M4 stock. It's just removable. And that's removable with a little button down here that looks just like the magazine release. Put it back on. You just put it back on. And boom, that's the overview of the Thermal Hunter. The ergonomics and function of the pump grip and the blaster itself are great. The grip is really small, but considering its price point and because it comes with the Tacti-Cool scope, the grip is not a deal breaker in my opinion, even though it's not fantastic. And now to the rail adapter. So this rail adapter has 4 little slots. It's able to attach to a Busby rail on the bottom and then present on the relative top an in-strike Tacti-Cool rail or a rail that is compatible with in-strike Tacti-Cool attachments. Or you can attach it to an in-strike rail and then attach Busby or Air Warriors attachments onto that rail, presenting itself on the relative top. So if you're like, hey, I have a Nerf gun, I want this super Tacti-Cool scope up in here, and you're like, the rail doesn't fit. Bummer. Worry not, dude bro. There's an adapter now. Boom, it attaches, and it pops it up quite a bit. It just looks goofy in my opinion. So it is an adapter, and it works. It's pretty wobbly. The form factor it's presenting is just hilarious. It's a cool idea in theory, and maybe for like Tacti-Cool attachments, other than optics or bipods or foregrips, flashlights. Okay, I don't really see when you'd use it because that offset is pretty ridiculous. It's cool that it's an adapter, so Air Warriors is just expanding their reverse compatibility, their magazines, their ammo, and now their scopes and all the attachments, making it a lot easier to go buy an Air Warriors blaster so you don't have to just jump off of the Nerf bandwagon and go buy a bunch of new proprietary gear, so you can still use all your Nerf stuff if you want to. Assuming it's not an issue to be like, just relearn how to shoot like that. And it's also pretty wobbly and it slides off. It's not a really secure fit. That would go with most attachments, but this is looser than most attachments are. I mean, it's not rattling. I can still pull it off with relative ease, but this will rattle. So, rail adapter, pretty cool. I won't be using it, but maybe there's an application I'm not thinking of. Leave a comment in the section below if that's the case. If you really, really want your Nerf attachments on the Air Warriors blasters or the other way around, duct tape and epoxy. So, a recap so far. Rail adapters that you may or may not use. Thermal scopes, which are really cool. Practical, I don't know, but Tacti-Cool for sure. Super hardcore tactics up in here. The rotation issue, which I'll get to further in the firing demo of this blaster, kind of disqualifies it for me. And it's like a super cheap Alpha Trooper, pretty much. Pump action, magazine fed, vertical mag, you know. Not trying to degrade it, only summarize it. But now to the PrecisePro darts, which are awesome. The precision out of this, I haven't done like thorough testing like I just recently did, but I might redo all of that again. But the precision out of the PrecisePro darts, you know, believe it or not, is fantastic. I'm able to group really tightly and the chrono readings aren't total crap as like a compromise. Why talk about it? I'll just show you the firing demo. Pew pew. Thermal Hunter shooting the red darts, shooting at my blaster board target rig. Freaking sniper mode up in here. So Elite darts with a Busby mag. I think I hit one on accident. Now I'm going to shoot quicker rate of fire with the extended mag with the included Busby red darts. excessive. Whatever. Gotta reset like targets. Zenith using the red Busby darts. Where'd it go? Okay. Now I'll fire some Nerf Elite darts with the same slow fire procedure. So here's some testing of the thermal scope. I can see it changing colors. Okay, gonna set it on the glass there. It's probably expecting something super hot to set it off, so unless I walk around with my new mixtape, that should be fine. You see what I did there? Is this that ninja's block? What are you looking at? Gotta get you fast. So firing the blasters, as I mentioned, the Zenith was having rotational issues. I don't know if I have a lemon or it's just a mechanical failure, like a design issue. But when I would prime, the cylinder would sort of over-rotate and miss the alignment a little bit, so it was losing a bunch of air. So when the cylinder spun around to the air hole, it would overspin and then like off sync, so when the air goes out, it's not pushing all the air in the right hole. So the dart would just kind of like plop out and not shoot really hard. But this is kind of a goofy blaster. Anyways, like with its size, it's a strong arm, but bigger and without slam fire. But it comes with a thermal scope, so that's cool. But I put the thermal Zenith up on my chronograph and I got an average of 77 feet per second with the included PrecisePro darts. And to more accurately compare to other blasters with Elite darts, I got an average of 78 feet per second. That compares to the 70 FPS par for the Nerf Elite blasters, or most Nerf blasters right now. The rotational issues for me are a disqualifier for this one though. Next, the Thermal Hunter. The pump action mech works well. It does not have slam fire, but you can still pump it off pretty quickly. Gotta blow that load super fast. On my chronograph, and I got an average of 75 feet per second with the included PrecisePro darts. And with Nerf Elite darts, I also got an average of 75 feet per second, and that compares to the 70 FPS sort of par for the Elite blasters. You can fire Elite darts and third-party compatible Elite darts like Little Valentine darts or Waffle darts. Compatible with other Air Warriors magazines, but not N-Strike magazines because of the magazine well protrusion, which I already pointed out. Operation and ergonomics are pretty solid from like here up, but the stock is a total joke. It's just way too small to use, and the grip is just really cramped. The priming action is pretty smooth and light, so it's not a huge deal. Over time, though, I found myself getting a little cramped and just not liking my hand there. My thumb and wrist area would bump into the stock, and especially this little button, which is just kind of all up in my business. It's like, get out of my business, bro, which is solved a little bit by pulling off the stock completely. It's still not especially comfortable, and it is small, but it works for some people with like regular sized hands or small hands. And I know what you're saying. Hey, Coop, shut up. These blasters aren't made for people like you. You're 25. They're made for kids. But look at the whole front of this blaster. Like, look at the distance from the grip to the magazine to the pump grip. It's an extended, pretty large blaster. Then they have this little, look at it. Come on. The proportions are just goofy, man. It only looks right if you sit it next to this thing, because it also has a pathetically, like, small grip. But it works, but it's not a Cooper review if I don't whine about the grip, so boom. Conclusions on the rail adapter: too wobbly for my taste. It also effectively raises your rail or your item off the rail like over an inch, which is a lot. Enough to make it just super awkward to use a scope. It's a really cool concept, but it would be more useful if it were much lower profile, which is a lot to ask for unless it's like an aluminum piece. The plastic needs to be fat, and it's a little bit weak, so you're better off kind of zip tying attachments to your blasters if you really want like Nerf on Air Warriors or Air Warriors on Nerf. Sounds like a dirty film. 2 rail attachments, 1 blaster. But it is what it is, now you've seen it. To the thermal optics, these are pretty cool. They work surprisingly well, especially for the price point. I think Nerf is coming out with a night vision scope for $50 US by itself. Can't remember the retail of this. It's either 20 or 25 US with the blaster, magazine, stock, rail adapter, and a thermal scope. But that's pretty awesome, especially compared to other stuff, and it works, like, well. The effective application of using a thermal optic in Nerf, if you're asking that question, shut up. It's Tacti-Cool. That's all you need to know. It's cool. I mean, come on. You need a heat signature in your target, and you can't yet see them with your eye. What environment are you playing Nerf in? And if it's colder in your home than outside, your windows will collect heat, or not collect heat, but show heat to a thermal sensor. I have a FLIR attachment which like measures heat for my iPhone. This is a very expensive device, BT dubs. It's not a $20 toy. It's a few $100s for this. So I'm not expecting this for the toy, but that's just to show what this optic is kind of seeing, more or less. So when it looks over a window, it turns on red, saying that's a target, that's heat. And shining it around my house, I've switched all of my lights to LEDs because energy efficiency. Woohoo. And some of them run so cold that thermal sensor actually doesn't trip. And the advertisement, like I think on the box, it has a kid pointing at a lamp, because obviously you can't point it at a kid's face and then say on the blaster, don't shoot at people. So it won't work with all lights. But the processing time, like when a heat signature would go over it and then when it would turn red, was really quick, surprisingly quick for a toy grade thing like this. Because when you're using an optic like this, even if it's a half second or a second lag, like that doesn't sound like too much time, but when you're trying to line up a shot, a second, a person's already a couple meters out of your sight line. Maybe if they're like booking it. Conclusion, I'm geeking out over it. I like the tech. The price point is ridiculous and it works. Hopefully my demo kind of shows its strengths and weaknesses. It's big, it's kind of top heavy and odd looking, but it's super Tacti-Cool. And you know, that kind of trumps everything else. Super important PSA, bros. I am well aware that your pets have heat signatures. That does not mean they are targets. It is absolutely animal abuse and psychological torture to shoot Nerf darts, even if you're like, oh, it's just a Nerf blaster to shoot a cat or a dog. Don't do that, bros. But I did detach the scope and kind of just like play with my cats and look at it, and it works surprisingly well. But super serial. If I find out you're shooting your pets, I'll just show up with my modified stripe and just light you up. See how you like it. PrecisePro darts, super cool. Are they going to be cheap enough to just completely replace the need for a waffle dart? I don't know, and I can do more testing on these. I tested them with these blasters, with a few Nerf blasters. I haven't tested enough blasters to really give a firm opinion on the cross-compatibility and flywheel, springer, and all of that yet. Perhaps in the future, but shooting them out of the supplied blasters and a few others, they're incredibly accurate for factory Nerf darts, especially compared to their long-range darts, also by Air Warriors. They're just launching these. These things, I don't even know why they made these, because the PrecisePro darts are way better. They say, oh, they're long range because they get like an extra 6 feet. I don't get it. I would not recommend these, but spoiler, that's the next review. That's a super cool group review, 2 thermal scopes, rail attachments, darts, and also some blasters that happen to come with the cool attachments. If you're interested in purchasing any of these, I will have links in the description box to Target, this video's sponsor. Thanks very much, Target. So when these are launched, these are both Target exclusive blasters, and I'll have hyperlinks in the description box to buy them when they're launching. But that'll be at the end of July, so check back in the description box when they launch. Super serial, Target, you the man. Boom. Nailed it. And also thanks so much to the Air Warriors PR team for sending these out early so I could get the review up before they're even launched, so you can know whether or not you'd like to purchase them. And again, if you do want to buy them, links in the description box. So that's this review of some scopes that happen to have attachable blasters. You see what I did there? Perspective shift, what's more important? Thanks so much for watching, bros, and as always, stay Tacti-Cool.